In this video, we are looking at Lesson 1. And before I go to Lesson 1, I want to share a quote with you. I love this quote. It says, "Reading gives us some place to be when we have to stay where we are." This is a quote from Mason Cooley. And you notice because this is a direct quotation, I have used quotation marks. I am repeating exactly what Mason Cooley said. So that gives us an indication that this is a direct quote. But this is very true for me. I'm not a strong reader. I have dyslexia and I see things differently than some people, but I really enjoy reading. I listen to audiobooks a lot because I comprehend better that way. But reading gives you somewhere to go when you have to stay where you are. If you need a break, pick up a good book. And it doesn't have to be a textbook. Pick up something that you really enjoy reading, a mystery story or science fiction or drama, anything that you like, even magazines. If you have hobbies like fishing or building model airplanes, those kinds of reading materials can take you away for just a few minutes and let your mind have a break. That's one of the beautiful things about reading. The good thing about that, too, is that the more you read, the better you will read. So whether you're reading a textbook or a magazine, whatever you're reading, you're building reading skills, and that is so important. Okay, I'm going to go to Lesson 1. And I've already written the title. This lesson is about determine word meaning. So when you turn to your page for lesson 1, I'm sorry, I have not put my pages in the proper order. Let me find this one. This is the memory piece. If you're using the memory pieces, there's a video that shows you how to assemble this one. So you should be ready to stick this memory piece down. You just glue it down onto your page. And let's give this a title. Titles are so important when you take notes because they help you organize your thoughts so that you can go back and read them again. This skill is called using context clues. Now, if your page has lines on it, that's okay. Mine happens to be blank because I wanted it to be blank for gluing this down. But give your page a title using context clues. And I'm going to show you 6 strategies for understanding words that you don't know. If you're reading and you find a word that you've never seen before, you've never used before, sometimes it's hard to figure out what that word means. So here are 6 strategies that will help you do that. And we're going to start with this first one, which is this word right there is inference. So that's going to be our first strategy. And if you open the inference door, just lift up on that door, you will see something that looks like this. And I'm going to zoom just a little bit more. So I have that inference door opened, and here is the example for inferences. Good athletes are always introspective. They never stop studying themselves to understand how they can get better. And they're asking us to decide what introspective means. So let's look at some clues in this example. First of all, I need to realize that I'm talking about good athletes, athletes who do very well in their sports. I also have the word part intro, and then I have spect. They, meaning the athletes, never stop studying themselves. So good athletes study themselves. Why do they do that? Why do they sit around and think about themselves? It's to understand themselves and how they can get better. So really break down your example and understand all of the small words in the example. We know what good means. We know what study means. We know what understand means. And we know what it means to get better. So we understand the words around our vocabulary word, and that can help us figure out the word itself. Now, I know from many years in science and math that intro, I-N-T-R-O, and I'm going to have to zoom out just a little. My pen is too thick. I know that intro means, in this case, internal or inside. Sorry, something has happened here. I don't know what went wrong there. I think it's because I'm zoomed in so much. So let's use inner. Inspect means to look. So introspective means to look inside, which is another way of saying study themselves. They're looking at themselves, not at other people. To look inside, to understand, and improve. Now, this definition is actually a verb, to look inside. Introspective is an adjective. Okay, so if we really wanted to be particular, we should add something here. Being able to look inside, and you could even say oneself, to understand and improve. That's a pretty good definition of introspective. And I'm going to show you how to check yourself. Go to your web browser, whichever one you use. I'm using Safari, and type in the word introspective. And you see the definition there, characterized by or given to introspection, being able to look at oneself. Here's another meaning of introspective. Well, it's the same one, but look at this similar, inward looking, self-analyzing, self-examining. That's a good one. So we have our definition right. We have it exactly what it should be. Okay, let's look at another strategy. In this one, I'm looking at this blue area. This is synonyms. So open your synonyms door. And if you're not using the interactive piece, you just need to write the word down, synonyms. And here's the example for synonyms. This is the second door. Carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas. Noxious fumes can fill a space without warning. This toxic vapor can quickly kill animals. List 2 sets of synonyms. Each set should have 3 words. Well, the first thing I need to do is tell you what a synonym is. Synonyms are words that mean the same or almost the same. They don't have to be exactly the same, but they have to be very, very close. and I'm supposed to find two sets of synonyms. So I'm going to make a box for the first set and a box for the second set. Okay, let's look back at our example. Our topic is carbon monoxide, and they're telling me that carbon monoxide is poisonous. Poisonous what? Poisonous gas. Noxious fumes. Noxious means poisonous. Fumes means gas, or almost the same as gas. In this case, fumes are something I can smell. And in this case, I don't want to tell you that I can smell carbon monoxide because you can't. But fumes and gas in this particular case are almost the same. Not exactly, but almost. Toxic, that's a word that means the same as poisonous. A vapor is a gas. So there are my sets of synonyms. I have poisonous, noxious, and toxic. All of those mean about the same thing. Gas, fumes, and vapor are synonyms. They mean about the same thing. So they could ask me on a test, which word means the same or almost the same? Which word is a synonym of noxious? And I could say either poisonous or toxic. Which word is a synonym of vapor, gas, and fumes? Synonyms are words that mean the same or almost the same. Okay, our next strategy is to use antonyms. So we need this purple door if you're using the memory piece. And my one for that one is right here. Antonyms. Let me give you the definition of antonyms. Antonyms are words that are opposite. Let me say that a little better. Words that have opposite meanings. So the test question could ask you to find an antonym for a given word. Words that have opposite meanings are antonyms. And let me give you a little tip here that helped me when I was learning this. If you go back to your synonyms for just a second, notice that synonyms, the word itself, starts with an S, and so does same. Synonyms are the same. Antonyms are opposite. Okay, back to our example. Sorry about that. It says to list two antonyms from this passage, and I haven't even read the passage, so let's do that first. As soon as the car accident happened, I was nonplussed. But after a short time had passed, I began to calm down. So if I ask you to tell me what nonplussed means, let's see if we can figure that out. As soon as the accident happened, so I'm driving down the street and someone hits me right in the side. How am I going to feel? It says that we're nonplussed here. I was nonplussed. And I have no idea what just happened, where that big red dot came from. So let me try that again. Nonplussed. But there's the clue that we're dealing with an antonym. They're about to give me the opposite. After a short time had passed, I began to calm down. So after a while, I was calm. When it first happened, I was nonplussed. So my antonyms are nonplussed and calm. These are two opposite emotions. So let's check. Let's Google the nonplussed, see what that word means according to Google or whichever search engine you're using. Nonplussed, surprised and confused so much that they are unsure how to react. That is the opposite of calm. Okay, nonplussed. Some synonyms for nonplussed are confused, bewildered, bemused, puzzled, perplexed, and baffled. Synonyms. But we are looking for the antonym. You really need to know the difference between synonyms and antonyms. That's important. And these are in your flashcards because it's so important. Our next strategy is using definitions. And I wish I had started with this one because that would have made a lot more sense for this whole process. I should have put this one first, but I didn't, and it's okay. So let's look at our fold-out piece for definitions. Green plants carry out photosynthesis. They need water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide for this process of making their own food. What is the definition, the meaning of photosynthesis? Well, it tells me that green plants do this process. They tell me that it is a process. They tell me that the plants need water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide, and that this process involves making food. Green plants can't move around. They're stuck in one spot, so they have to be able to make their own food. Now, if I ask an elementary student what photosynthesis means, I might get something like this. And I really wouldn't be disappointed if I did. If an elementary student could tell me that photosynthesis involves making food, I would be very, very happy with that. A middle school student, not so much. I would expect a middle school student to be able to tell me a little more. So they might tell me something like this, that this works with green plants. That's very good. So green plants make food. That's the gist of photosynthesis. But here's what I'm looking for from a high school student. The process. This is a very complicated scientific process by which green plants make food. That's a good definition of photosynthesis. A college student, I would expect to tell me this. Uses water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide. Okay, that's a very, very good definition of photosynthesis. The process by which green plants make food uses water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide. A master's level student might substitute H2O because that's the actual chemical symbol for water, and CO2 for carbon dioxide. So you see how this can go from very, very basic Remember, we started with just this one. That's elementary, middle school, high school, and college, and then finally that master's level definition. So as you get better with these, you can make some really, really good definitions. Practice using those skills. Use the clues in your passage to figure out the definition you're looking for. After we do the next example, I'm going to come back and show you yet another trick with photosynthesis, but I need to show you word parts before I do that. So that is the next door that we need to go through. We have two more to go. So let's open the word parts door and do our example. With word parts, you need to know three basic concepts, and these are in your flashcards because they are so important. The root is the main part of the word. A prefix is a word part added at the beginning of a word that does not change the spelling of the root. Prefixes do not change spelling. Suffixes do. A suffix is a word part added at the end of a word that may change the spelling of the root. So to show you an example of this, I'm going to use a word that I bet you've heard of. Antibiotic. Antibiotic. If you've been to the doctor with some sort of infection, bacterial infection, you've probably received an antibiotic. It's a prescription. It's a drug that does a particular job. So let's break this down and see what this word actually means. Antibiotic. So here's what I want you to do. Put a line between the I and the B, and then the O and the T. And let's break down this big word into its parts. Anti. Now think about something. This is your prefix. What comes to your mind when I say anti? If you are anti gun, anti-gun purchases, what does that mean? It means that you are against something. If you're pro-gun rights, you are for it. So anti is against. The root itself is bio, and bio means life. Wherever you see bio, think of life. So the prefix is anti, against. The root is bio, which means life. And tic is the suffix. This means having the ability, you could also say having the characteristic of being something, having the ability to do what in this case? What is an antibiotic for? An antibiotic is used to kill bacteria. So an antibiotic has the ability to kill, to go against bacterial life. And this is your suffix. So if you know the common prefixes and the common suffixes, you can sometimes figure out what a word means by knowing those. This is especially important in science. So anytime, anywhere I see bio, I know to think of life. Let's go back just a minute to photosynthesis. Okay. The process by which green plants make food. We've got that definition. But let's apply that word part thing to this. We have photo and then synthesis. I know from many years of experience that photo means light. Synthesis means to make. And what do we know about photosynthesis? Green plants use light to make food. Photosynthesis cannot occur without light. Photosynthesis. Let me give you just another, if I can find some here, we'll go back. Here's a good one. Intro. I was using that strategy and I didn't even know it here. With introspective, you have inner, which is the prefix, spect is the root, and iv is your suffix. Introspective. It also helps you to spell if you can break these words down. Let me give you one more example, and I'm just going to put it out here. You can just put it on the side of your page. Geothermal. Geothermal. Okay, let's identify the three parts. We have a prefix. Sometimes the word won't have a prefix. For example, thermal. That's a word. You don't have to have a prefix. Geo is my prefix. Therm is my root. And ol is my suffix. Geo means earth. Therm means heat. Ol means relating to. So what does geothermal mean? It means relating to Earth's heat. Here's another one related to that one. I could do these all day. Endothermic. This is a science word. Endo is my prefix. My root is still therm. You know what that means. And ic is my suffix. We know that therm means what? Heat. Ic means relating to. So the question is, what is endo? Endo means inner. It's the opposite, the antonym of exo. Exo means outer. So an endothermic reaction, or anything that is endothermic, has something to do with heat inside. It's pressure and heat that's building on the inside, like a pressure canner or a bomb. That is an endothermic device. One more, and I promise I'll stop, because this one you know. But have you ever stopped to think about what it means? This one does not have a prefix. It has the root, thermo, which you know what that means now, heat. Meter is your suffix, or it's really another root that we've put together, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and break it down. Meter means to measure. So what does a thermometer do? What's its purpose? It's a device that's used to measure heat. So those are all in a word family because they have the same root. And as you read more and more, you will learn more and more roots, and that will help you to understand more and more passages. Take the time to break those words down, and you'll really start to understand what they mean. The next time you see a word with therm in it, you will remember what therm means, I bet you, because you know the root. You know what that word itself means. Okay, one more. I really like word parts. This one is examples. I'm not going to flip back, but you can open this bottom door, and here's our example of examples. Several famous people have had martinet personalities. These include Adolf Hitler and General George Patton. Some people describe their parents and grandparents as martinets too, because they did not tolerate any nonsense. What does martinet mean? List 4 examples. Okay, so we have 2 jobs here. We have to first of all figure out the meaning of martinet, and then we have to list 4 examples. So what does martinet mean? Well, let's think about it. We know, or I think we know, who Adolf Hitler was. What do you think of when I mention Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler murdered millions of people because he wanted to have control. He killed millions of innocent people. Okay, the second name that's mentioned here is General George Patton. Well, General George Patton was one of the finest military people that America has ever known. General George Patton fought for freedom. He did not kill people for control. He killed people, for sure, but it was in the act of war. It was in the act of defending freedom. So when I think about Adolf Hitler and General George Patton, both of these men were military people. They both were very strict. They both believed in control, but for different reasons. And then they throw in people describe their parents and their grandparents as martinets. Okay, when I think of my father, whom I love very much, we had a wonderful friendship and relationship, but my dad was strict. He made sure that I did what I was supposed to do. So did my grandparents. Now, my grandparents let me get away with things, but they never let me get out of control. So martinet has something to do with control, with being strict. A martinet, or the adjective martinet, is being in control. Let's not use being. Let's say keeping control and order. It's not necessarily a bad thing. With Adolf Hitler, it was. But with Patton, parents, and grandparents, it wasn't a bad thing. It was good control, in my opinion. For examples, we've already named those. Adolf Hitler was a negative martinet, in my opinion. George Patton was definitely into keeping control and order. He was one of the finest generals that we've had, in my opinion. Parents and grandparents. So let's go to Google and just be sure that we have this right. What does martinet mean? So I'm going to go back here. I encourage you to use this. Every time you come across a word you don't know, look it up. Take the time to look it up. Okay, here's the example. Martinet is a strict disciplinarian, especially in the armed forces. And here are some similarities, some synonyms. Disciplinarian, slave driver, taskmaster or taskmistress if it's a lady. It even goes on to tell us where the word comes from. It comes from a system of drills invented by Jean Martinet, who was a French drill master in the 17th century. So we're close. In this particular example, I think we've got a really good definition. Okay, that brings us to the end of our clues. I hope that you've learned some good strategies here. You have to practice or you will not get these down. I've given you this memory piece so that you can quiz yourself, close all the doors, and see if you remember what's under there. What is that strategy telling you to do? In the next video clip, we will practice these using your textbook. So you'll need that online textbook or the textbook your teacher gave you to do the next exercise. So I will see you soon for that one, and I hope you have a really good day. Bye-bye.